It's funny because how else can I feel about it? It's funny. It's sad. It's really sad, though, incredibly sad. Because it's so obvious that people are being abused and they can't see it and they accept it and they don't think it's abuse at all. They think it's fucking great. They think life is beautiful. I don't know. A lot of toxic dysfunction. Get this. My daughter, 16 years old, believes, honestly, that she is smarter about some things than I am. Now, I said to her, you might be aware of some things that I'm not aware of, but that wouldn't necessarily make you a smarter person. Think about this. You're 16 years old. You're a sophomore in high school. I went to college. I'm 64 years old. Do you honestly think that you can be smarter than me? And she said yes. I guess more power to her, right? No. That kind of false sense of security, I think, is very dangerous. One of the worst things that we have going on right now, I mean, that just blows my mind, is how these evangelicals will blame everybody but themselves. But I'm noticing these patterns and in behavior and in the nature of the behavior, so that, for example, what I was talking about earlier with archetypes, as far as having this visual image, this concept in our head, wherever it came from, because it didn't just appear there magically. It wasn't there before you were born or anything like that. Just when you're born, there's just like, basic motor skills. You don't got a brain. Don't remember shit from then. Totally vulnerable. Totally defenseless. But you made it. And you're here. It. I haven't checked the figures lately, and I don't know what the latest figures are. But to the best of my knowledge, more than 50% of the population is obese. That is dysfunctional. That's actually toxic, believe it or not. Because when there are certain sort of psychological traits that can be said of a person that is obese and accepts their obesity and simply, you know, continues to survive and deals with the consequences of that obesity, but accepts it as their condition and does nothing to change that. There are some people that cannot function without someone telling them. or something. It doesn't have to be someone necessarily. Because I sort of know of a person that all they know is that they have to. I'm trying to think of where I'm going with this actually. Uh, I'll drop that one. I'll drop that one. But, obesity, it affects your way of thinking. Uh, there can be sort of a more stubbornness. Um, and believe it or not, and this is not meant to be sort of a play on words or anything like that. Pun is not, but throwing weight around is kind of a real thing. It's in poker, going all in or having a big stack. A lot of times you'll see a big person with a big stack. It's very interesting. But there is a lot of toxic. Now, in my mind, religion is the worst. And the reason I will say that religion is the worst is because of the following: using a lie, an outright, unprovable, un just totally indefinable, totally absurd, totally abstract and subjective. It is dangerous when groups of people share a delusion. Now, life isn't difficult. It is very easy if we always try to think about the other person first before we think ourselves. Doesn't mean you have to be an idiot. Doesn't mean you have to, it's like these abstract concepts of love and truth. And, these are just archetypes. They're totally subjective to the times. Their definitions and their meanings change. And that's because they don't really exist. They're just imaginary things that we've created. This is all our creation. But just because it is doesn't mean that that is the way it's supposed to be. But people will believe that things are the way they are and there's no other way that things can be done. And that is simply not true. It is simply not true. But, being united in a disillusion, and then in an illusion, something that is not real, that is not tangible, that is abstract and in and of its, everyday form, that has no meaning and direct correlation to the reality that we have to deal with on a daily basis. That's dangerous. And not only that, but we give it tax exempt status. We give religion a tax. Why? Why is a tax? If they're not going to make money, they don't need to be tax exempt. But see, the thing is that it's just a ruse. It's just a way for a stupid man to maintain a privileged status. Religion, it's either a stupid man or a dishonest man or woman or whatever, or person or human. Always best just to go ahead and say human. That is incredibly dysfunctional. It's just like we have holidays surrounded around nonsense. Complete nonsense. We do things. Look, this is so sad. This is a really sad part. And I know I'm going to be hated for this. But poor people want to be rich people. They want to do the things that rich people do. Like, but this is the weird one, is that we don't even understand that this is what rich people do. We think this is normal for us, for poor people. Or, we think it's normal to celebrate birthdays and have big birthday parties. So people will fucking get in debt to have a birthday party for their child. But that's just ostentatious pomposity of rich people that want to do something like that and have the money to do that. Personally, I don't think it's anyone's goal in life to sacrifice your life for nonsense like that. Because what's more important, if that birthday is more important, you just spend time with the child and forget about everything else. Because your time with the child is the most important thing. And it's the most important thing that child can have. You spend a day with the child, you go out, you say, this is the day you were born, let's talk about the future. There's all kinds of things that can be done instead of wasting that money. When I think back on the birthday parties that I threw for my kids and stuff, it's like I wasn't even paying attention to them during the party, barely, just to sing happy birthday, when the candles were lit. And the rest of the time I'd be hanging out there with some friends and we would be drinking and laughing. The thing is, everybody is concerned about their own personal comfort. They want to have those nice things. I mean, but the bad thing is that, we have to make sacrifices in order to make our points. Otherwise, we're not making the point. We're just saying, it's just flippant. There's just so many things that are going on here right now where people are taking advantage of their power. We're not living in a democracy. And I can say that especially for the state of Florida. A lot of people, I mean, this is a case in every state. This is really, really bad because here, this is Christian nationalism. This is the unmovable faith in the traditional red, white, and blue. Aggression, rugged individualism, football, guns. You know what it all is. And a lot of people still think that's very important. And I can understand that because really, you think about 350 million people. Our open architecture government, is going to be a lot harder to manage. It's a lot easier to manage a totalitarian state. You just say, this is the way shit gets done. Tough shit if you don't like it. I personally don't like that. But, that's what this system in this country breeds. Because, I mean, you don't have to be a smart person to accumulate wealth. And wealth enables political power. So it's very easy for a person that has no education, has no understanding of what it means to be human or human condition or anything like that, their only idea is like, the rat race and just, step on as many people as you can to make sure that you're the one that's in a comfortable place. Those are not the type of people you want in the government, as far as I'm concerned. People who think about themselves and their friends first, and the things that they believe and the things that they think. I mean, The line has to be drawn in the sand, and unfortunately, this is where we fucking lose. This is where we fucking lose. That people have a really hard time letting go of the concept of any absolute. It could be absolute truth. It could be absolute, what's this, absolute truth, absolute morality, absolute pleasure, absolute infinity. But anything absolute. And see, we don't know. We have no idea. All we know is that we're here. Why don't we just work with that? Rules that if I walk into you, I know it's not in my best interest, just as a human right now, the way I am, to manifest any type of aggression that is in my best interest and in everybody else's best interest, because I think about everybody else first. That the image that I project is one of positivity and life affirming and acceptance. Or do I want to be a life denying, suppressing, kind of inhibiting and conforming and just sort of trying to protect yourself? Is this kind of like every man for himself? I mean, this that's going on, and then people huddling under like false illusions, to try to make themselves feel better. I mean, that's a totally fucking dysfunctional clusterfuck show. Kids think they're smarter than their parents, even when their parents is being nice and trying to explain things to them. um, but the obesity, the liquor. Now, you know, again, I'm the last one to throw a stone in this particular situation, honestly. Excuse me. I was cursed by having my birthday on St. Patrick's Day. And I could tell you the most epic drunk stories. But, and I don't care. I mean, I know that I did that and I accept it. See, some people have that problem. They can't, they have this, they carry this guilt, they carry this regret, and then they try to, legislate so that people don't make the mistakes that they made when they were kids or some shit. I mean, it's really weird, bizarre shit that people have in their heads. Very strange things. And most of it is because that most of us are taught to pursue things that are outside of us. We don't, and the spiritual is made to feel a little bit too mushy and weird and magical. And see, it doesn't need to be that. That's a distraction in my mind. I mean, it's a very sort of, I mean, call it stoic if you want. I really haven't read about stoics. I kind of know what they're all about, but I mean, it's just to kind of center myself in an idea. You know, the only way I'm going to survive, I mean, first and foremost, is by being physically fit. I don't need to be muscle bound. I don't need to like have these fucking, whatever they call them, guns or whatever. I don't need that because again, I'm not trying to show anybody that I'm superior to them in a physical way. So, I don't have to manifest that outward, you know. What I manifest outward right now, and this is something that took a long time for me to develop. I've always been me. I've always sort of, and I don't know where this comes from. I have no idea, but there's always been that rebellious me. Always, always. I just never accepted it. I don't have any idea why. It's just very difficult. But that always made things very hard. So, Like to say at the crab table, I'm going to roll it the hard way. That's the way I fucking did it. The fucking hard way. And, one bad experience that you've had, I probably had 25 or 30 of them. I got some calluses. Nothing fucking freaks me out. I see what it is. I know exactly what it is. I mean, it's messy. Part of it's like we're a human factory. Now think of it, But right now, 120 people die a minute, a minute, a minute, and 200 are born a minute. So 80 people more every minute. There are more people than what they know what to do with. So that's why they're legislating this way. They have power, and they know that there's people appearing. These people don't think the way they think. They look at life differently. They have different value systems. They look different. So, they're trying to seal the hatch. They're not going to let anybody in. That's weird. I honestly, one of the things I wrote today was, I don't like this country. I don't like it at all. There's very little that I like about it. It is very unhealthy, excessively aggressive, excessively greedy, very lazy, self-centered, and people don't understand the word materialism and what it means, as far as like putting value in things that are outside. Oh, that's valuable. That's valuable. That's something, and giving those things value and saying that's something that I want. That's materialism. I don't want to see things and make me feel like I want them. I don't. And they've done that before in the past. I'm over it. I'm completely over it. My motivations come from the things that I like to do, and the things that I like to do. And again, sort of going as being centered. It's like, all I know is I fucking exist. I know who got me here. I know they weren't perfect, but I'm here by whatever means I got here. And there are other people that help me, and there's associations and friendships and circles and all communities and all kinds of things. I'm not going to ignore any of that shit. It was all there. It was all part of it. It is all real. I got off track, but I'm thinking I'm going to go, just as an example is how everybody thinks about themselves. You can be concerned about any issue, guns, LGBTQ plus, trans lives, Black Lives Matter, in the environment, oil pipelines. I mean, whales, you name it. What do they ask you for? Money. Everybody wants money. Everybody wants money. Well, there's certain different ways you can look at capitalism, and in its rawest form, you're just thrown in a pile of dirt and told accumulate capital and you'll be fine. Right. Yeah, and then obey the rules too. You have to work 40 hours and you have to tell us everything and where you worked before. All that shit is nonsense. You need to tell us if you're a boy or a girl. All that shit is nonsense. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. See, that's what I'm saying. Is a lot of people think that shit matters and it doesn't. And then they make it more complicated and they make rules. And then they make the rules, they make the laws, but they can't even the laws are worthless because then they go into a court and they argue about the very same laws that they wrote. It's dysfunction in its highest form. I mean, this shit, people are like, oh, how the fuck can he get away with it? Trump's not in jail yet and blah, 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 blah. I mean, face it. Face it. I mean, how much more do you need? How much more evidence do you need to see that whatever world that you believe in is not the world that exists? That's a hard pill to swallow. It's not easy. I'm not sure exactly what I'm looking at, but I can tell you this: I don't like what I'm looking at. There's a lot of different sides to it. It's very complicated. It's not easy. I'm not going to be pretentious here and pretend that I know exactly what's going on. I don't. I have an idea about what's happening. I do spend time thinking about it. And I have spent time studying about a lot of the shit that is sort of a part of, what we do. I mean, I've studied cultures, what cultures do, what religions have done over the years. So many things that are weird. I asked my 16-year-old daughter to define communism. That's where our argument started. She did not want to believe what I was telling her, which was that she was saying communism was one extreme. And I was asking her, why couldn't communism be the middle? But they've already created that dichotomy in her mind. And so for her, the truth is that communism was one end of the spectrum and capitalism is the other. And that's a completely dumb, oversimplified, and meaningless illustration that is subject to all kinds of subjective interpretations, which make it completely absurd and meaningless to even go there and say it. Because both of the terms don't mean anything. People don't know what they mean. They don't know what they mean. They think they know what they mean. And thinking that you know, and the other person thinks they know, and the other, that's the dysfunction. That's the toxicity. And the fact that everybody wants money. It doesn't matter if you're in it for a good cause or not. You still want money. So maybe I should just run a campaign. Vote for Bite, maybe against Rick Scott, and I said, I don't want any money. I just want your vote. I'm not going to bother you. If you have a question for me, I'll try to answer it. And I'll tell you how I think about it and how I would approach it. Because that's the thing that I learned. One of the few things that I learned in corporate America. And I can't remember who said it to me. Really, I wish I could, because I'd like to credit them. I mean, I did learn some. Everywhere I went, I learned some things. I mean, when I was a punk rock musician, I learned some things. When I was a punk rock, or on the radio, I learned some things. When I was in college, I learned some things. When I, had lived in off campus and in a basement apartment that had a shared kitchen with 3 other males, I learned shit. So I went off track now. I was going on this rant and then just lost the train of thought. Was I can't do that anymore. I can't do that. I have to remember what I'm talking about. I have to remember. And it's just kind of ranting. That it's just money. Everybody wants money. Just thinks about their own comfort. So I was saying vote for Bite. That's it. I'll have a platform here. A person has a question, they can send me a question and I'll fucking answer. I don't need to be fancy. These guys, they need fancy letterheads and stuff like that. And they want to they're pencil pushers. They're bureaucrats. They have these systems that just shoot out these words. They don't even think this shit. They're fucking just puppets. All they like to do is go out and fucking drink and shake hands and smile with their friends and just fucking make fun of other people. This is where we're at right now. They were so petty. That all we can do is look at the other people and say how stupid they are. And I've done it too. I mean, I'm guilty. Okay. But, It's like it gets old after a while, and it's just like women, send messages and say they want me to look at their naked pictures, and I'm like, so how many naked pictures do I need to look at? I mean, I'm not going to get excited about every single, and everybody's attractive, and it's not ugly to look at the female body or anybody for that matter, but not going to fucking do it all the time. It's not like the one track mind, but unfortunately, that's the thing, is that there are a lot of individuals that have one track minds. Their life is all about just one thing. That's, again, very toxic. I was like, I can't imagine, being like the same person for fucking 50 years, or the same identity. I'm Dr. Bob. It's just, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel, but it feels right for the other person. But why does it feel right? Does it feel right being a doctor? Does it feel right having the money? Does it make a difference? I think it does. So nighttime numinations. This shit is very toxic. It's going on. There's a lot of people every minute. They treat us like a fucking renewable resource, just like a raw commodity, and like anything else. And then, the funny thing, we try to act like fucking kings and have birthday parties and do all the shit that they do, and really, when we do that, all we're doing is basically self-defeating. I mean, my invitation to my friends, if you drink alcohol, stop fucking drinking alcohol. I'm not telling you to do it, but I'm just saying, look, I mean, take it from a pro. Okay. I used to collect tequilas. Vodka martinis. I never was a big fan of whiskey, although I've killed it, almost drank an entire fifth of Jack Daniels all by myself one time. I've like slammed pints of rum. I mean, I've done all kinds of fucking crazy drinking. So, for me to come around and say, listen, it's not worth it. I mean, I says, how fucking stupid was I? How fucking stupid? How many times did I have to fucking experience a hangover and feel like shit? I mean, you would think I might have gotten over it by one or two times. Some people try, oh, you're moderate, you don't have to worry about it. You just drink a little bit of that. Oh, fuck you. Yeah, that's fine. You want to be a pretentious asshole and think you're perfect and moderate and whatever, go ahead, do it. Knock yourself out. If you need to do, tell other people that, you're better, and there's shit, but that's the toxicity of, how people think. Most of us think in our own egos. We worry about our egos. We worry about what people are going to say and shit like that. And then so we carry this shit around with us. This is, I don't worry about shit anymore. It's just, again. And then the only way I did it is running. Because running is just like, it's like clears the air, everything. The blood is pumping through the entire body, including the brain. You think you're sitting in a chair all day is going to be good for your brain, even though your brain is here and it's not in your ass? It's still not good. Shit's not circulating. And if you do it every day, day in and day out, I'm saying 40-hour work week, what the fuck has to get done in such a hurry that people have to dedicate 40 hours out of their lives to make a livelihood? And now people are actually having to do it, not one, but two or three different jobs. Because people at the top will always be greedy. They will never, ever, 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 ever let go. Ever. That's why revolutions happen. Because they know people will not let go and other people have to take over. But they've done a really good job in this country of making people really fucking stupid and weak and dumb and, angry. And I mean, they've done a very good job as far as doing that. And I'm not a conspiratorial thinker, it's kind of like, it's sort of like it's like a seed, and it's like the psychic seed, and it sort of has a life of its own, and it's just kind of, bonds with in the psychic realm, and with all the other people, and it grows and it keeps growing, and it it never wants to kill itself, most of the times. I mean, there's the fucking religion Look, religion, if religion was religion, you know what it would do right now is to say, fuck everybody. We don't need any tax exempt status. We're giving you all the money. We're just fucking poor old monks. We don't want any more of your money, you know, and we'll do what we can to help you. But they don't do that. Why? Because that's not what they're interested in. They're interested in money. Everybody's interested in taking care of their own shit. Taking care of their own shit. I mean, I like to. I am, but I guess, but here, some people's shit is more complicated, and they actually have to dedicate their entire life to their shit. Your mind is not that complicated. My shit's very easy to deal with. It's like run, shit, smoke herb, listen to music. I don't think I'm obligated to do anything else. I mean, if somebody wants my help, I'll help them. I have to be paid for it. You know, it's just a different way of looking at things, a different way of being, different way of interacting with the world because it's just so dysfunctional and toxic. I don't want to be like the world. I don't want to be like this country. I don't want to be pointing fingers saying Republicans and Democrats and this and that. And the biggest assholes are the ones that don't vote, really. Nobody talks about them, but they're the biggest assholes. They don't give a shit about anything. They just give a shit about themselves. They don't even care about voting. That's a good fucking chunk of change out there, too, if you didn't know it. Look up the numbers. People just want to fucking spout shit out of their mouth without even knowing. I mean, it's like I hear people say words, they don't even know how to fucking define them. So they'll say communism, they can't tell me what communism is. They'll say capitalism, they can't tell me what capitalism is. I can talk about capitalism for a fucking hour. I can talk about religion for a fucking hour. I can talk about psychology for a fucking hour. I can talk about anything for a fucking hour. I can answer any questions for about a fucking hour. I don't know how long I've been talking because I'm not wearing my glasses. Just wearing my sunglasses because it makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. Actually, believe it or not, it sort of helps me think a little bit clearer because a lot of times when I'm talking, in the past, before I had my catharsis, I had these ideas and it kind of like flew out of my hands. I couldn't remember them. I didn't have control or anything like that. But now things have changed. Things have really changed. I'm really excited about things. So always dealing with a bunch of shit in the background. But that's what life is. It's just a bunch of shit in the background. I guess rather it be shit in the background or shit around my ankles than shit that I'm swimming in, I suppose, right? That's all I have for tonight or for this moment. I've been doing these a little bit more. I'm getting more comfortable with it. It's kind of interesting. We'll see where this goes. I don't know as far as topics and everything like that. So we'll see. Oh, and I forgot to say, remember, just the past is an illusion and the present is chaos and the future's your decision.